Everyone, welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Wesley Chapman with us. He is co-founder and CEO of the Human Gathering. It's going to be a cool interview. We're going to talk about masterminds. We're going to talk about living a good life because Wesley has an intentional life, I would say. I really consume a bunch of his videos and content lately, and certainly an interesting guy. Initially reached out to him as he has a think tank slash a mastermind, and got really interested by him. Saw his Tom Bilyeu impact theory interview. It was a good one, Wes, so good job on that. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about your companies?
So I mean, you did a great job. I think the most important part is I did create a life intentionally. I think that too many people are just doing the routine, doing what somebody else told them to do, whether it's society, parent, college, professor, whatever it might be. So, if anyone's wondering, I'm a little under the weather, so my voice is a little weird. So I apologize if I sound like a mixture of Kermit the Frog and myself, but yeah, so as you mentioned, the Human Gathering, I've been doing that since 2015 officially. I retired from my 20 plus years, about 25, 26-year career in marketing and branding, simply because I have quite the backstory. As you learned on the Tom Bilyeu podcast, we can go into it or not is really irrelevant. But the the thing that happened in my existence was I reached the top, had the house on the hill, had the 9 cars, had all the things you're supposed to have to create happiness. And it wasn't that I wasn't happy. I don't want people to think that money doesn't help you have some momentary lapses or momentary moments of joy and happiness, and it does make life easier, but it's not fulfilling if what you're doing to generate money is not in its right fulfilling. And so while I love clients and I love working with people, for me it was more about creating more to my time here on this planet than just making myself money and making other people money. And really that was the start and the reason the Human Gathering came to be. There was no financial model that I was looking at. It was literally, I want to gather with people who want to make life better for themselves, their family, their employees, the world at large. And I started inviting people, my wife and I did, to our home. They were actually called evenings at the Chapmans. That's how it all started. And then I met Josh, and it just kind of spiraled into this, it's gotten too big to happen in my living room. So what if we do X, Y, and Z? What if we tried this and tried that? And now it's a, international organization with members all across the globe who are doing incredible things and supporting each other and living life to the fullest. And they're, founders, executives, CEOs, vice presidents, things like that. So we do have a little bit of a requirements for being a part of the community, just simply because I really want to come up with ideas and do really amazing things, and then have the ability to actually make that happen. So I call a lot of what's happening on this planet right now peacocking. People will say they can do things. People show on Instagram that they have a yacht, right? They don't have a yacht. They drive a Bugatti. No, they don't drive a Bugatti. Their life is amazing and they know everything about marketing and branding. Their life's not amazing. And maybe they know a little bit, but they pretend to know more than they do. So I wanted to surround myself with people who are seasoned. Most of our members are 10 plus years in their industry, most, more in the 20 range. And, they're individuals that really just want to have meaningful conversations and do things that are challenging. They've mastered their career, they've mastered their little corner of the world, and they want to take on another challenge. They want to do something bigger. They want to do something that is a risk for them. I think that the draw of kind of how we started this conversation. Sorry, I've just got some background noise here I'm trying to get rid of. The draw of how we started this conversation is that I have so many people, millionaires, even a few billionaires who have said to me, Wes, you're living my dream life. And I'm sitting here thinking, what? Like, anybody can live the life they want to live when you have that kind of financial freedom. It's more the people that come to me and say, Wes, I want to live a life like A, but I only have an income that's X. How do I make that happen? And so, I mean, that excuse slash that problem, I understand. When people come to me and say, when I have friends who are very well off and they say, wow, I wish I could live like you can. It's a choice. So I think a lot of the members of the Human Gathering are kind of waking up to this idea that yes, they went to Harvard, and yes, they have their law degree, or they spent 25 years as a seasoned accountant, or they've done X or they've done Y, but they really want to do A, B, or C, and they're realizing that they can do that. They can have a hybrid, right? You can have half of your life being something, a quarter of your life being something else, and so on and so forth. So I think that's the most rewarding thing for me now, is just really allowing people to understand that we all have the 70 to 90 years on this planet, and it shouldn't all just be about how much money can we make, how many leads can we generate, what can we do. There's more to being on this rock than that. And honestly, for me, this is just a chapter in my existence. This is not the totality of my existence. I think if I knew that being on this rock was it, I'd probably have some different theories about what I should be doing personally, but that's another conversation.
Great intro. Okay, lots to uncover, right? Yesterday, I listened to a pod of Harry Stebbings and Scooter Braun, 20 Minutes VC, which is one of my favorite podcasts. And they were discussing exactly this. Scooter Braun, Justin Bieber's manager, very, very wealthy guy, got through a divorce recently and went through a very hard pivot. And the guy's like, yeah, guys, money is not everything. The priority in my life are my children's. A lot of people don't realize that they chase wealth. They think it's the ideal thing. Most people that do that, I think they haven't got wealth in the first place, right? Which is why they're still seeking it. Wealth is really hard to achieve too. Might take 10 years, might take 20. So they don't really know what they want in the end. I think it takes exposure to various experiences in life to know what you like, what you don't like. Me, I realized that wealth wasn't part of the happiness equation, but it is indeed challenging me, and I love challenging myself, right? Is one of the greatest and most noble challenge trying to achieve wealth. It's very, very hard. And you can do nice things with money, not only spend it on yourself, but on causes that you like. That's the short intro. Now, I wrote down like probably 6 points listening to you. The first one is you mentioned that your past could or not be relevant. I also think that way, the past is somewhat relevant. You're obviously a tough guy, Wes. You've lived a lot of tough stuff. You have a big shell, one could say. Me, I had somewhat of a comfortable life. I did bring discomfort on myself on purpose. Why are you mentioning that it could or not be relevant?
Well, I think in that, context of what the interview, want to talk about is what I was kind of saying. But I think what you're tapping into is that you have a choice in life, and things are going to happen to you that aren't by your choice, right? So you can't choose your parents. You can't choose where you're going to live, between the ages of 0 and 8, maybe even longer. There are things that happen to you that are out of your choice. You may, you mentioned Scooter Braun. Actually, no Scooter. Justin Bieber. Love Justin Bieber's mom. Known her for a few years. And there's a lot to unpack in what you just said there. But, so many people have things that happen to them, and, it's out of their control. But you do choose how you react to those things. And I think specifically in the United States of grand old America, we've become incredibly soft. We've become incredibly focused on being a victim and not being a hero. And what I mean by hero is I'm not talking about going and saving the world and getting involved in foreign politics. I'm saying that every one of us has to become a hero to ourselves before we can do anything in this world. And that is something that has been lost through comfortability. And so, I get it. You said you create moments of you not being comfortable. I'm assuming you're talking about like the Ironmans and some of the physical things that you've done.
Yep.
And there's a lot of studies and there's a lot of research that shows that individuals who put themselves into hard situations willingly and then make choices to get out of those situations will fare better in business, life, romance, better sex life, live longer, all kinds of things. Individuals who go through hard times and that are not by their design, not by their choice, and they choose to move forward from those things, will also have all of those same benefits. So it's really understanding that it is a choice. Now, here's the caveat to that. It's not one time. You can't make a choice once on a Tuesday that says, I'm going to have a better life. Because guess what? If you make that choice at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, I guarantee you by 11 a.m. on Tuesday, life's going to suck again, right? Like, it's going to get hard. Something's going to come up that you weren't expecting. It's a constant choice. And yeah, you may have a good run for a couple months, maybe a year. I don't know. You may have a good run where life is good, but something's always going to come up. And you're continually going to have to make a choice. And, talk about triggers and different things that happen to people. And every time you're triggered, you have to make a choice. So that's, again, I meant the comment in simply, this is your interview. What do you want to talk about? Open book. But you kind of tapped into something that a lot of people hold on to their past like an iron rod. Like, this is this is what's going to guide me to my entire existence on this planet. And the reality is that's a victim mindset. It's incredibly limiting, and you're going to fail. I'm just putting it very bluntly. Like, you will fail at everything you do if you hold on to your past in that context. Now, if it's lessons you've learned and, things that you want to you want to remember and make yourself progress, you're holding on to those moments for progression and for life lessons. Great. But if you constantly, and I have this happen all of the time with people that I work with, is that someone will say, well, because this happened to me, that's why I am. I just had a conversation yesterday with a CEO, and he came to one of my events, and he just said, thank you so much. And we got into some personal stuff. And he said, when I was a child, they diagnosed me with ADHD. And for almost until, midway through my adult life, every time something bad would happen, I would say, well, it's because I have ADHD.
Yeah.
It's because I have this. And that's a limiting belief, first of all. It's an incredibly limiting mindset. And you're programming yourself to be okay with not living up to your true potential.
Right.
And instead of looking at your failures as lessons, you're looking at your failures as a side effect of a disability or a situation or something in your life.
Right.
And not to get like woo woo, but I've literally seen people, and this is not in a spiritual context, but I've literally seen people who have physical ailments because of their childhood traumas. And those physical ailments are medicated, physical therapy, everything you can imagine. And once they release their childhood traumas and they get past all of that, slowly their physical ailments start to heal.
Right.
I have one woman who was in a wheelchair from, gosh, I want to say she was 20 to like 50 something, right? She was in a wheelchair. Horrible childhood. She just went to Africa on a safari, and before that, she just ran not an Ironman. It was a death race through Spartan race. Exactly. Thank you. And she was in a wheelchair, 10 years ago. So again, these things affect us at levels we don't understand. And what I don't think business leaders understand and individuals that are trying to create companies is, if you don't move past those things, they will show up in everything you try to do. Lead generation, marketing, sales, consulting, Instagram posts, I don't care. And you said something interesting. People don't chase money. I want to make that very clear. Money's a tool. What you're chasing is validation. What you're chasing is feeling of value. If I have, like, my camera's work, but like, here's the latest Apple Watch, right?
Yeah.
If I have that latest Apple Watch and someone sees that in a photo, they're going to think I'm XYZ. My wife has these things, right? These freaking Stanley cups or whatever they're called. And every Instagram model has it. And it's like, oh, you gotta have that if you want to be an Instagram influencer. So you're not chasing money. Money's the tool. What you're actually chasing is validation. So if you find validation in another part of your existence on this planet, then you're using money as a tool to do something greater. And here's the crazy thing. You'll have more money. And there's two reasons for it. Energetically, people will be more attracted to you. That's like the woo-woo fun side. But the logical side is, you just won't buy shit. you just won't have to buy the stuff that you think makes you who you think you should be. It just becomes so much easier to walk by Louis Vuitton and say, I don't need that. It makes it so much easier to say, you know what? I just want a nice pickup truck, or I just want a car that's going to get me to place A to B. I don't need a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. Hey, and when I rent a car, I don't need to freaking rent the highest level car. When I fly, I don't need to fly first class. Now if you use reward points, then fly first class. That's a whole nother conversation. But the point is that all of a sudden you have more money in your bank account because you're not seeking external validation, which is why you're chasing money in the first place.
Right. I like that. It's kind of Alex Hormozy mentioning that when you focus more on work, you don't spend as much. It's kind of a similar hack. What you've just mentioned, I mean, lots to uncover again, but the woo-woo stuff, it's not woo-woo to me and to a bunch of others, like we're just gonna scientifically discover all of that pretty soon. I believe 100% of it. One point that you mentioned about ADHD, because I have ADHD, I don't like the keyword, right? I wish we would use something else. And it's a superpower in our modern times, as AGI is accelerating pretty much everything. It's not going to be a business in a decade. It's going to be a business in a year, then a business in a week, then a business in a day, then a business in a second. And that's a super brain power. I believe people should just question all of their beliefs and reshape them one after the other. Our brain is naturally wired to be more negative on every front, and nowadays I'm just finding myself converting pretty much everything into something positive and just eliminating the cortisol in my brain, which we tend to have too much. And guess what? I'm super duper fucking happy nowadays, and I've always been, but that has been a huge hack lately. I want to cut to the chase, because you're older, way more successful than I am, according to many standards. I still want the toys on my side, and a bunch of younger folks also want them. What do you suggest there? Just like try getting those toys. And me, I know that I won't be super duper happy. I already have a bunch of toys, but the supercars and the mansion and all of that. If you would shortcut or way through what you've lived, what would you advise people to do in that situation in terms of acquiring toys and spending it on not vanity stuff, but on toys?
Yeah, it's an it's an interesting topic, and I agree with you on the woo-woo stuff. Is that more and more of it is becoming scientifically proven. There are just so many people that are still trying to adapt that mindset, but it's interesting. Look, there's nothing wrong with spoiling yourself. Literally, there's nothing wrong. Like, I like nice things just as much as the next guy. But I think that it's really a personal question. Why am I buying this thing, right? Am I buying it because for me, it's a reward for a level that I got to? And that's piece number one. Piece number two is, what's the financial, are you being financially responsible? Meaning, are you buying a piece of equipment or a toy or a car or whatever, and it's extending you, right? It's outside of your means. If you're making $2 million a year, take home profit, taxes paid, all that fun stuff, and you want to go buy $100,000 car, I mean, it pencils, right? It pencils. In some cases, you may buy a nicer car because you can write it off. I know that the G-Wagons, for example, have certain tax benefits for buying those. So
Really?
the first is is that has to do something with their weight. I'm not an accountant, but talk to your accountant.
Buying a tank.
Yeah, something. So here's the thing. First is, why are you buying it, right? So, and that's a personal question. Is it because I just want to do it? It's a goal I set. There's nothing wrong with setting fun and audacious and playful goals. Absolutely nothing wrong. It's why I own a ranch. You can set goals and then you can achieve those. But reverse then from there, look at the financial side of it. I would say that you can get just as much of a rush and serotonin and adrenaline and all these other things that you get from buying something, in buying things that are going to enhance your portfolio instead of detract from your portfolio. So buy land, Look at different opportunities in stocks or investments or startup companies, different things like that. I love the old school mentality, the Warren Buffett mentalities, the individuals who drive the vehicle that gets them to point A to point B, and their wealth is laced in experiences, in true assets. So if I were to do it all over again, right? For me, I think I would spend more money traveling, seeing more places on the earth. If you ask every retiree what their plan to do is after they retire, the number one answer is travel and see the world and spend time with loved ones doing it. So I think I would have just started that a lot earlier. I didn't need 6 Harley Davidsons, right? I needed 2, right? Well, I didn't, maybe
I
1 is
only
what I
needed
needed.
4.
Yeah, right. So like, it's looking at those kinds of things, but in the same tonality. I remember signing $1 million contract and then going and buying a Harley Davidson because that was like a reward for me.
You deserve
like,
it. Yeah, at that
right.
point.
Like there's the element of you deserve it. It's fun. It's playful. We're on this planet. Enjoy it. And then just it's like anything else, right? If you eat too much spinach, you can die of iron poisoning, right? It's
Right.
just people, anything. It's all about just really looking at it and saying, why am I doing this? Am I doing it for a healthy reason? Or am I doing it because it's a Band-Aid on a problem? And then secondarily, ask yourself, is this the best thing I can do with my money in this moment? Or are there
Right.
better opportunities that are going to serve me more long term? And I will tell you, I've been in the fancy sports cars, I've had the motorcycles, I've had the house, I've had all this stuff. It's really fun. Like, don't get me wrong, I love classic cars. I've restored classic cars. Those are a little different. Like, restoring a classic car is pretty freaking rewarding, especially if you have a child and they're helping you. It's those, but the reason why is because you're creating those memories. When you get into a car and you drive it for the first time, you think you're awesome. But every time you drive it after that, there's less and less and less and less and less of
Hedonic
those
treadmill,
dopamines.
right?
Yeah. So then that's why you start chasing the next thing. So when you travel and you see something new, and your brain processes new information, or you meet new people, or you travel with a loved one and you go experience things, those memories last with you forever, for a lifetime, even without these stupid things, right? Like, you don't even need the phone to have those memories be inside of here forever. So again, that's what I would just challenge the youth is, why are you buying it? And then secondly, ask yourself the financial aspect of it. But don't be scared to enjoy the bounties of this world. I mean, even in the Bible, it says that. So it's not about us not enjoying the cool and amazing and fun things on this planet. It's just, why are we enjoying it? And is it the smartest thing to do in that moment? And sometimes you might say, it's not the smartest thing to do in this moment. Asterisk, I deserve it. So it's
Yeah.
incredibly complicated to just say, don't go buy the fancy stuff, live in a cave, eat off the land, save all your money, because again, that's not why we're here. And secondly, like, especially here in the United States and definitely globally, like, money in the bank is taking a nosedive, right?
Right.
Like, it's getting cremated.
Sure.
And there are things that you can put your money into: classic cars, land,
Art.
investments, art, business. Like, there's a lot of things that businesses that you can put your money into. So again, it's not just about having, a bunch of money in the bank and all of a sudden you're secure. Because I mean, in 3 to 4 months, in some people's eyes, money in the bank is going to be the worst thing you could possibly have. But yet, 10 years ago, that's all they were saying to do, is put money in the bank. So again, it's about here and your heart, and why are you doing it?
Yeah, TLDR, go Pareto, go like 80-20. The only problem is that us entrepreneurs were so extreme that we go like 100% and zero. And the very reasons why we start business most of the time is to prove someone wrong, whether that's you, whether that's your parents, your teacher. So such a hard question. Quick one for you, Wes. Do you have like 15 minutes more, or are you on
Yeah, we're
time?
fine.
Okay, cool. Same here. Because I have a bunch of follow-up questions for you. Okay, yeah, it's not moderation, it's kind of equilibrium is the right word, and experiment and see what you like and what you don't like. And the worst thing you can do is try to impress people that are kind of toxic. First they won't even be impressed because they always try to compete with you. They're like, oh, you have a Lambo, now I have a Bugatti. And yeah, that becomes pure vanity, and a lot of people get entrapped into this. Kids renting out Bugattis and claiming that it's theirs. I just encourage people to also follow like who they are. That's a lesson that I got after a decade in being in entrepreneurship. And I now embrace my weird self,
Yep.
I'm quirky and, I'm listening to you. I have my eyes going up. I don't give a shit about what people think about me at this point. So that's always interesting piece of advice. I want to talk a bit more about your current life because I also want a ranch, for example. I think ranch are really relaxing. I think us humans were made to be in open spaces. We're meant to walk. We're meant to have our foot touching the ground and the sun's sparkling through your eyes, and of course, like having these animals. It's kind of the dream life. So you recently bought a ranch. I think you're also trying to monetize your investment, right? Because you have like lodges and so forth. So tell us about that life, because it's also like my ideal life. What would you recommend it for, and how's been your experience so far?
Yeah. So, and you said something very important, like, and I call it playing with bricks and mud. Human beings, like we've become incredibly technical creatures, like what we're doing here, right? Like I'm in the middle of nowhere, you're where you're at, and here we're doing this interview, and someone's going to listen to this in Mississippi, another person in New York, like whatever. So like technology is incredible, but biologically we are part of this planet. And, we are a creature on this planet, and we belong here, and we have created some incredible things here. We seem to be the dominant species on so many different ways. Maybe not the most intelligent, but definitely the most dominant. And so it comes to this idea that when we get further and further and further away from our biological essence, we become more and more unhappy. And I see this all the time, because you're right. We have the ranch set up as a guest ranch. When we decided to buy this, that wasn't the first thing we were going to do. Then COVID happened. There's a whole crazy story. And we started having people come here. And so then we, finished some cabins, and now we have the opportunity for people to come here. And hundreds of people come to our ranch every single year. And every time they check in, my team knows that they're going to be a little ornery. They're going to be a little grumpy, more than we are, right? They're going to be stressed. A, they've been traveling. B, their life, all this stuff. But then the next morning happens, and it's without fail. Literally, this experiment has happened 1,000+ times. The next morning they wake up and they go, "That was the best night's sleep I've ever had in my life. What's your mattress? What's the pillow? This is incredible. I've never felt like this before." Or, "I haven't felt like this since I was at my grandparents," or, "I haven't felt like this since I was at my dad's ranch or my dad's farm, or since I was a little kid." Whatever it is, either they've never felt it, or they haven't felt it since they lived a life that was very different from what they have now. And the commonality is they haven't felt it since they were one with nature. And we're very isolated. It's not hard to get to, but once you're here, it's isolated. You're very private. We don't have locks on our doors. If you come down our driveway and you're not supposed to be, you're going to meet 2 or 3 security guards that you didn't even know were there. So everyone's protected. It's a very safe feel. It's a place that you can, air quotes, let your hair down. It doesn't matter what you're wearing. In fact, I had a guy come here in a Gucci suit once, and that lasted about 15 minutes. And then he asked me, "Where can I go buy real clothes?" And I was like, "Well, there's a farm shop, 20 minutes from here." And so no one cares what you're wearing. No one cares what you're doing. The animals only care about you, your person, who you are. And if you're not a good person, or you got some stuff you got to work on, the animals are going to call you out on it. And I've seen that happen 100 times. I can take a horse and put you on it, and you have an incredible ride. And then your friend comes and they get on it, and that horse wants to kill him. And it's not because the horse is bad. It's because that person has something going on. That's why horses are so incredible with therapy. So I've seen this happen thousands of times over the last few years, of people just becoming the true version of who they are by connecting back with nature. So, okay, not everyone can own a ranch. Well, everyone can go on a walk. Everyone can go on a hike. Everyone can go to a beach. You've got something, right? Sand dunes, desert, hiking in the forest, trees, hills, fields. We all have some nature around us. Some of us might have to drive 30 minutes. Some of us may have to drive 2 hours. Whatever it is, there's a space for you to go and connect. And I don't know all of the scientific, pieces of this, but a lot of it just has to do with a lot of the stimuli that happen in cities. That I call them the concrete jungles. There's a lot of stimuli that happens. There's a lot of things that go on, and as much as you think you tune them out, as much as you think you're not paying attention, your body and your brain are. And and especially over the last 3 or 4 years, it's become insane. So, for me, when we got the ranch, it was a personal thing. Ever since I was a small boy, I wanted to build a ranch, have it be a place that I could work with children. They could be safe. With my childhood, what I went through, I could work with individuals who've been trafficked and put into sex slavery, and it would be a place that I could utilize horses and animals to heal. And that's obviously what we do. But then the other side of it is I realized that there's a lot of leaders out there who need to be healed because they influence so many different people, and they make decisions every day that not only affects them, but may affect their 10 employees or their 1,000 employees or their 5,000 employees. And so, I mean, I've had some of the biggest names on this planet at this ranch, and they can stay anywhere in the world. They can stay at any hotel in the world, any Airbnb, do anything they want to do. And when they come here, they all tell me the same thing. There's something incredibly special about this place. And hey, I live here every day. I'll go travel. I'll come back. I feel that, but it's not that it's a 5-star, Forbes thing. It's not any of that. It's that we've just built it to be incredibly authentic to what it is to be with animals, to what it is to be with the land, to be disconnected, to be, vulnerable to an animal that's, 2,000 pounds, and to have that companionship and that partnership and build that. And here's the thing. I mean, I could teach an entire lesson on horses and raising and training horses and being a leader in a Fortune 500 company. It's a lot of the things that we understand about animals, we somehow say don't apply to humans, even though we are animals. It's really quite comical, actually.
Yeah.
So it's, to me, again, everyone has a different existence of what they think is utopian. For me, this ranch lifestyle is my utopia. It is my place, and it sounds like you resonate with that. And
100%.
and I think that whether you can get it or you can find places to experience it, this goes back to travel and experiences. Put it in your life. Make it a priority as much as you make anything else a priority. We have people who come out here every single year because it's now a priority for them to come out here at least once a year. I have a very, very successful entrepreneur. He's probably worth about $400 or $500 million, and he brings his family out here once a year, and that's just what he does. He actually had his wedding vows. He married 25 years, and he had his marriage vow renewal here on the ranch. He actually asked me to do it. And so, again, it isn't that it's, just very bluntly, this is not going to be the most poshy, cushy, freaking incredible space you've ever been in. It's going to be comfortable. It's nice. It's clean. It's brand new, all those things. But like, we didn't focus on building $500,000 cabins that made you feel like you were in some Instagram utopia. Like, we built cabins that are nice and they're comfortable and they're safe and they're secure, and you have nice beds infused with lavender and all this other garbage. Like, that stuff's fine, but you're going to be spending 6 to 7 hours in the cabin. The rest of your time sleeping. The rest of your time is going to be with the horses and the cows and the goats, and it's a working ranch. We raise cattle, we raise horses. You and I have had this interview scheduled now twice. Both times we had it scheduled, we had a cow born. You got lucky. We're in between. We got a cow born last night, and we have another cow who's in labor right now. She'll probably drop in the next 45 minutes or so. And I've got to go after I get off this interview. I've got to go doctor the cows that were born yesterday. So it's, again, like, and then after that, I'll be on a call with one of the top AI companies in the world talking about AI and what we're doing and what's going to happen. And then after that, I'm doing a photo shoot with my horse for a Western brand company.
Love it.
And then, so again, like, we live in a world where you can be anything and be anywhere you want because of
Right.
technology, but you've also got to be really conscious about what makes you happy. And you said one
Right.
other thing about proving somebody wrong. I'm going to flip this for everybody. Prove yourself right. Just that little brain shift is going to take you from aggression and anger to logic and compassion. And that's all you're really trying to do. You're not trying to prove your mom wrong, or you're not trying to prove your dad wrong. You're just really, if you break it all down and you have an emotional session and you let the tears out, you just want to be right. Not because of an ego thing, but because you truly want what you believe. And so instead of trying to prove yourself, prove somebody else wrong or prove this or that, just prove yourself right. That's it.
Yeah, and be of value. Be a value to others. Give and you shall receive. My last question is kind of related to your next call. Tell us a bit more how you will be infusing AI/GPT and LLMs to the human gathering and or your ranches and or your other ventures.
So I just had a really incredible conversation with a potential startup yesterday. They're getting some pretty hefty funding, and their concept and idea is about utilizing chat to do some policing. Excuse, not chat. Utilizing AI to do some policing in the world, based on taking and designing the AI under a worldview. So that means bringing all kinds of different inputs into the AI, not just one particular input, and then putting markers in that AI so you know where those inputs came from. AI is an incredibly interesting. I've been having a ton of conversations. Steve Wozniak, other names you don't know, like tons of conversations. Everyone's got an opinion. Elon Musk just did a whole like the world's going to die, conversation about AI. So you've got a lot. You got people who know nothing, people who think it's going to be iRobot and they're going to take over the world and kill us all, and then people who are building tools to build websites, like what you said, like build a business in a year, then in a month, then in a week, then in a day, then every minute. AI is incredibly powerful, but just like anything else, right? With great power comes great responsibility. I look at AI and how it plays into my companies in how does it make my employees able to focus more on their God-given talents and less on the mandatory of tasks and things that are redundant, things that they don't need to be spending that kind of time on. Whether it's lead gen, creation, whether it's, email scripts, there's a lot of different utilitarian things that can be, that you can replace with AI without replacing the human and actually making the human more valuable to your company. Again, like if you think about having a really good front desk person, somebody who can be a gateway to your company, if they're always answering the phone, it makes it difficult for them to deal with the people that are in front of them. It makes it difficult for them to create systems and processes that can make your company more effective from a gatekeeper's perspective. So what if AI could answer the phone calls? And Apple's really good at that, and they've been doing that forever. But I think AI is going to put some of these bigger, for example, that's a great one. Let's talk about Apple's support calls for a second. Apple's support calls are one of the best in the world. I mean, literally, their technology, if you call up Apple and you start talking to their robot, very, very rarely do you want to throw that robot across the room. Whereas you go to most companies and you want to throw that robot across the room because it's not listening to you. It's not programmed well. Apple mastered that years ago. For a startup to bring that kind of technology into their business, well, it's impossible. Last year, it was impossible. Last year, 6 months ago, it was impossible. The fact that you can do it now, and the fact that, as you said, in weeks from now, what you thought you could do, you can do 10x because of the advancements in AI. So I think for us, it's about finding the mundane tasks, the things that are repetitive, the things that take up 2 or 3 hours of our employees' time every day. Can they be replaced with AI? The human gathering is very unique because we're completely human. It's the name of the game. It's what people are buying into. It's what our team is trained to do. So we don't have a lot of tasks that can be there. The ranch is similar. Like, I can't have AI go out and help birth cows, and I can't have AI take people on horseback rides, and I can't have AI, help people in their cabins. But there might be something that comes up definitely on our marketing side. So I think that what businesses need to do, first, get out of denial. AI is here, and it's going to be here at a rate you cannot comprehend. It is not Facebook pages. It is not Instagram. It is not TikTok. It is not LinkedIn. It is not crypto. It is the biggest technology advancement in the history of humankind. Period.
100%.
It's bigger than nuclear war. It's bigger than military advancements. It is single-handedly the biggest advancement in computer technology because not only the science and not only all that fun stuff, but because of its accessibility. That's why.
Like magic.
Exactly. And it's accessible to a first grader or to a seasoned CEO at the most profitable company in the world. And the scary part is just who's going to take it and use it, and what are they going to use it for? And again, it is what it is. All good things, right? The internet's incredible. It's amazing. It also hosts child pornography and imprisons women in,
Terrorisms.
yeah. So it's not good. And we saw a glimpse of it in scalability with crypto and NFTs. We really did. We saw how something incredible can be manipulated by marketing and completely destroyed. AI is not going to be destroyed. AI is simply just going to advance at a level that if you don't get in on understanding it, it's going to be very hard for you to comprehend all the aspects of it, and that will actually make you vulnerable. So
Right.
really get in now, and I mean like every night. If it's not your thing, great, but every night be reading something about AI and be
Yeah.
following and digesting content.
Trying tools as well. The only scary thing, and yeah, the one of my favorite analogy, fire can be used to warm yourself up, can also be used to burn your whole house down, So everything has goods and bads. The only scary thing here is that NFTs, crypto, and all that, it was mostly capitalism driven, but I think it's pretty much the same for AI. We have the researcher community that have good intentions. These folks have never been motivated really by money, so at least we have that. Just that capitalism, I feel the discussion needs to be
Right.
happening again, because the sources and the ethics behind capitalisms are not always clear.
Exactly. So it's really a matter of it's really just a matter of learning it and seeing where it can fit into your daily life and playing with it. Experience.
Right.
I mean, if you haven't used Chat GPT and just messed around with it, like just go mess around with it.
Yeah.
And again, I've lived through these revolutions. I remember when the cell phone came out. Like I've been there for a long time. So it's definitely one of those things that technology's scary when you don't understand it. So
Yeah.
go out and try to understand this one.
Yeah, amazing stuff will happen. Wes, thank you so much for the interview. You're one hell of a man. So thank you for that. Where can people find out more about you and your companies?
Instagram is about the only social platform I use. LinkedIn, I'm on there, but it's LinkedIn. And then humangathering.com. I would encourage anyone that's listening to this to go apply. And in the notes, because it's an invite only thing. So in the notes, just say I listened to Wes on a podcast, name of the podcast, whatever. And put it in there. My team will know that. They know my schedule. They know when I'm interviewed. So I invite anybody listening, go apply to be a part of the community and see what we're all about. And outside of that, yeah, Instagram. If you like horses, and opinions, that's pretty much what I do on Instagram. So
Horses and opinions. Thank you so much, man.